Prismatic Evolutions has a feature that no other set has, and no one really considers this when they think about what item they should invest in or what item they should buy. Whenever people want to buy something, they generally have a range of like Paldean Fates, Destined Rails, Phantasmal Flames, Prismatic Evolutions, and a couple other sets. But generally, what happens is they mush it all together, but you shouldn't be doing that. You should be putting Prismatic Evolutions in its own category, and I'll explain why in this video. You see, the easiest way to measure how hard it is to pull the top chase, you don't really want to go by pull rates, and the reason why is because pull rates and booster pack price can completely mush it like poorly. You can have a set where it's really difficult to pull the top chase, but then perhaps the booster pack is really cheap, so then it kind of evens out, right? So you could have a set like 151 where the booster packs are $15, but the pull rates are really easy versus another set. So the easiest way to do it is you get the booster pack price times the pull rate, and that's the price that you get costing to pull the top chase. So today we're going to be going over a bunch of different sets, a bunch of big sets that tons of people love to hold, and then you'll see that Prismatic Evolutions, by the end of the video, you'll see that Prismatic Evolutions not only blows these out of the water, but it's near double, sometimes even triple, sometimes even quadruple the difficulty of pull rates than other sets. Alrighty, so Prismatic Evolutions is the only holiday set where it has ridiculously hard pull rates, but it is also a holiday set. So the set behind Prismatic Evolutions in difficulty to pull the top chase is Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is about 1 in 500 packs to pull an SIR. However, if you look at sets like 151, if you look at sets like Hidden Fates, Champion's Path, Shining Fates, all of these sets are about 1 in 200 to 300 packs to pull the top chase. But you'll notice that Prismatic Evolutions is 1 in 1440. So it's what, like 5-6 times the difficulty as these other sets. So this puts Prismatic Evolutions in an automatic edge. The reason why is because getting booster packs from holiday sets is so much more difficult than getting them from booster boxes. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare Prismatic Evolutions to a bunch of popular sets that people love to hold, and then we'll really see that Prismatic Evolutions, it really mushes in when you look at the ETB price, the price per pack, but when you really break down the numbers, you'll see it's just in a league of its own, and we will see that unfold in the future as it continues to go up. But anyways, let's quickly talk about some other sets. All right, so to pull the top SIR from Mega Evolutions, it will cost you about 7,000 packs. It will cost you about $7,000 to pull it. Now, this is considering that Mega Evolution packs are $6.95. Meanwhile, Prismatic Evolutions is $8.50. Prismatic Evolutions is $1.50 more. However, it still costs almost double as much, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Looking at the next one, Destined Rails, which is $7,300 to pull the top chase. The top chase is $1,350 as a PSA 10, and then looking at Paldean Fate, it is $5,000 to pull the Bubble Mew, and then finally looking at 151, it's about 3,300 packs to pull the Charizard, and the Charizard is $850. Now, what is Prismatic Evolutions? Prismatic Evolutions blows all these out of the water. It's insane. Prismatic Evolutions is $12,000 to pull the top chase, the Umbreon. Now, here's the thing. You look at sets like Team Up. You look at sets like Phantom Forces, Evolving Skies, and it's a no-brainer why they're so expensive. It's because the top chase is so pricey, right? That's literally why the booster box is expensive. However, the thing to consider is how much more pricey is it? Well, the Lovebirds is about $8,000, and there is no card in all of the Sun and Moon era that's in any other set that is like even half of that. None of them. There's not a single one. The Lovebirds are in a league of their own, okay? So now let's look at the top chasers from Sword and Shield. So the Umbreon is about $3,000 as a PSA 10. Now the Gengar is selling anywhere from $1,650 to $1,800. So let's just say about $1,700 for the Gengar. The Umbreon is about $3,000. The Giratina is on par with the Gengar. It's usually about $1,700, $1,800. So these are almost half the price of the Umbreon. Not quite, but almost half the price of the Umbreon. And you'll see it's the same situation with the Umbreon from Prismatic Evolutions. It is double as expensive as the next top chase. The next top chase being the Bubble Mew, which is about $1,600. Double that is $3,200. The Umbreon from Prismatic Evolutions is selling anywhere from $3,150 to like $3,300. So let's just say $3,200, $3,150. But anyways, the point is it's roughly double. So you can really see that when the top chase is double as expensive as the previous top chase of any other set in the era, it really does numbers. Now, I will just quickly say the Magikarp is technically a little bit more expensive than the Bubble Mew. The Magikarp is about $200 as a PSA 10. Well, sorry, no, it's $200 more than the Bubble Mew. It's about $1,800. The thing to consider with the Magikarp is that it is driven by the difficulty to grade, not really the demand. The difference with the Bubble Mew and the Magikarp is the Bubble Mew is like $500 raw, even though the Magikarp is like $200. So, like, I understand the Magikarp is, but I'm not really going to add it because it's not really driven by demand. It's more driven by the supply issue. You can still add it if you want. I would understand if you do want to, but I think it's more fair to look at cards with a similar gem rate, like the Mew, the Umbreon, they have a similar gem rate. They're not on par, but they have a similar gem rate compared to the Magikarp, which is just in a world of its own. So anyways, but the point is that the Umbreon is far more expensive than any card in Scarlet and Violet. So when you're thinking about which set you should invest in, you shouldn't really look at like Destined Rivals, Paladin Fates 151 and go, And we also got Prismatic Evolutions as well. No, you shouldn't do that. You should put Prismatic Evolutions as a number one priority and then go ahead and go, all right, you know what? I'm going to hold 50% of all of my Pokemon in Prismatic Evolutions, and then I'm going to tackle other stuff. Because the thing about good sets is they don't wait for you. That's the thing about good sets. You got to think about sets like Evolving Skies. It didn't take long for it to start to jump up. That booster box to hit $200, $300, even though it was still in rotation. The market was quiet back then, but still, it remained that price because it had such a heavy demand. These really good sets don't wait for you. Now, I just want to bring up something that's very interesting. A lot of people would counter saying like, oh, you can't compare it to Evolving Skies because no one was investing when Evolving Skies was out and everybody's holding Prismatic Evolutions. I can confidently tell you that is not true. Just by saying that sentence alone, it immediately tells me you were not there when Evolving Skies came out and you were not there when Evolving Skies was in rotation. When Evolving Skies was out, it was not 100 years ago. It was not 20 years ago. It was not 10 years ago. It was like 3 years ago, okay? And the set is still in rotation. It went out in rotation like 2023. It was something like that. It wasn't that long ago. So the thing it was still getting print waves and it was still getting restocks like 600 days ago, around that range. So people act like it was this prehistoric time, like no one even knew what Pokemon was back then. And it's like, dude, no, it was literally like 2 years ago when you could get it for like $300. So back then there were subreddits. There was the Poke Investing subreddit that had 10, 20, 30 posts a day. There were Facebook groups where people talk about investing. There were Discord groups. There were YouTubers that get 10k views per video now. They would get like 5k views per video. But the thing is, they still got tons of views. Now, the thing about Evolving Skies is if you were in any subreddit, if you were in any sort of group, they do the same thing that they do with Prismatic Evolutions. If you ask them, hey guys, I'm brand new to investing, what should I buy? Everyone would say, get some Evolving Skies. That's what everybody would say. They'll say it doesn't matter if it's ETBs, blisters, doesn't matter what it is, an art set, one booster pack, one blister, one ETB, one booster box, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, can you just get some Evolving Skies? That's what everybody would say. They'd say, you can pay secondary market, it doesn't matter. But Evolving Skies was in a similar situation to Prismatic Evolutions. The difference with Prismatic Evolutions is it's lost a lot of its bling because it's quiet right now. And the same thing will always happen with Evolving Skies. The same thing will always happen with other sets. The debate was like, should you buy Evolving Skies or Celebrations? And then when that debate was crushed because Evolving Skies did so good, then the next debate was like, should you buy Evolving Skies or 151? That was a big thing. People would say, should you buy a newer set? That's really good. Should you buy an older set? That's really good. What should we do, right? But it was always Evolving Skies hedging against something else, and then Evolving Skies would just smash it completely. The thing about Pokemon now is something that I noticed is people aren't really doing the same with Prismatic Evolutions. They're not saying like, Prismatic Evolutions goes up against Phantasmal Flames, or Prismatic Evolutions goes up against all these other sets, and they go, which one is better to invest in? It's like, dude, you look at Sun and Moon, and you'll notice that Team Up is like $9,000 a booster box. It's Cosmic Eclipse is like 4,500. So 4,500, it's like double the price. But you'll notice with Team Up, the Latias being like $9,000, $8,000, however much it is double as expensive as any of the top chases in Cosmic Eclipse. Must I remind you, the top chase in Cosmic Eclipse is a $2,000 card as a PSA 10. The top chase in Team Up is $8,000. So Team Up just eclipses Cosmic Eclipse out the water. Then you look at Sword and Shield and you go, oh, okay, well, we got the Gengar, you got the Giratina, and those are like 1,700 or 1,900. But then you look at the Umbreon VMAX, and it's like $3,000. It's much more. Then you get to Scarlet and Violet, and the Umbreon, it's the same story. It's like $3,100. The Mewtwo, which is another set people are going so heavy on, isn't even half the price of the Umbreon. That's pretty bad. Like the Mewtwo is 1350 as a PSA 10, the Umbreon is about 3150, around that range. Dude, that means that you're investing in a set where the top chase isn't even half as much as Prismatic Evolutions. Now, don't be wrong, I hold Decimal Rails, I love Decimal Rails, but the thing is that Prismatic Evolutions is still number one on my priority. We get to Prismatic Evolutions now, and people say, alright, maybe people were holding Evolving Skies, but people are holding much more Prismatic Evolutions now, and that's where I would beg to differ. The thing about this market now is so many new people are in the hobby. This last 12 months, I would say, has probably brought in the most new people to the industry. So what you have is, you have a bunch of people just stuffing up left, right, and center. And once they get Pokemon investing down, Prismatic Evolutions will be out of stock. So once it hits people like, oh crap, hang on, maybe I shouldn't bounce from set to set. Because like no one really did that back in the day, for the record. Back in the day, no one would sell their Evolving Skies to buy Astral Radiant and then sell that to buy Lost Origin and sell that to buy Solar Tempest and sell that to buy Crown State. No one really did that back in the day. So it's like there was a lot of people that were just locked in on really good sets, and then if they wanted to buy some Lost Origin, because they had like 2 years, they wouldn't panic sell what they previously owned and then just put it into Lost Origin. No, they would just say, you know what, I've got a job, I'm going to invest $100 a week. All right, well, I can buy a case in 6 weeks. Happy days. But now people go like, oh, should I sell, like even One Piece, right? Like how many people have sold Prismatic Evolutions and have sold their Pokemon to buy One Piece? It happens so often. I get tons of people DMing saying like, hey, should I sell my Pokemon to buy One Piece? And I say, no, I hold One Piece, sure, but I'm not selling Prismatic Evolutions, the best set of Scarlet and Violet, the set that started this entire bull run. I'm not going to sell that to buy One Piece. That's just 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's not even, you're not making progress. All you're doing is just moving your money around. So yeah, that's the thing about Prismatic Evolutions, is because there's so many new people who are just brand new to Pokemon investing now, what's happening is there are actually far less people, I find, there are far less people all focusing on Prismatic Evolutions. What they're doing is they're focusing on everything else. So yes, there are far more people investing in Pokemon than they are 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You were not wrong about that. However, back in the day, everybody would just gravitate to Evolving Skies, and that's why Evolving Skies did so well. But you look now and you go, oh, okay, well, people are buying One Piece, they're buying Riftbound, they're buying Magic, they're buying 151, Paldean Fates, Sword and Shield, all these different things. They're buying Mega Evolutions, Ascended Heroes, Phantasmal Flames. They're buying all this stuff, but they're not focusing on the number one best set that's growing and then everything else isn't. No, it's like everything is growing and Prismatic Evolution is being chucked in the pile. However, once the supply stops, they all have a fair turn to prove themselves. You'll see that Prismatic Evolutions will eclipse all of them. And I'll tell you why. Right now, Prismatic Evolutions is getting a buttload of printing. Right now, Prismatic Evolutions is getting a crap ton of printing. It's getting printed more than any other set this year, by the longest shot. Realistically, if it got the same printing as Destined Rivals, Black Bolt, if it got the same printing as Surging Sparks, all these other sets, it would be $20 a booster pack, 100%. ETBs would be maybe even $250 an ETB. But the reason why it's not is because it just gets reprint after reprint after reprint. Thing about Prismatic Evolutions is that once that reprinting stops, once they turn off the faucet, think about it like this, okay? Let's just imagine every single set is inside of a bucket. Now, every single set is constantly being filled up with water because they're getting reprints. This is what happens. Every single set, let's imagine their demand as a whole. The larger the whole means more water exits, aka supply is being opened. With Prismatic Evolutions, its whole is much larger than other sets by 2, 3, 4 times as much. People are cracking Prismatic Evolutions way more than other sets. However, at the same time, they all remain stable and they all remain relatively full, but the difference is that Prismatic Evolutions is having water flowed in 2, 3, 4 times as much as other sets. So this is the thing. When they stop printing all of them and they turn off the faucet and no more water enters the bucket, the one being cracked the most is the one that remains on top. See, right now, they're all in a mush together, but the thing is that as time goes on, then naturally people will chase $3,000 cards more than $2,000 cards, more than $1,500 cards, more than $850 cards, all in PSA 10 pricing. People will chase the most expensive one. So then what happens is that once the faucet turns off and there's no more water entering the buckets, then Prismatic Evolutions has the same hole, has the same demand, and it'll just gush out, and then GG's, well played. It will essentially go to the moon. Now, the thing about Prismatic Evolutions is it doesn't end here. There are also God packs. No one considers this, man. No one thinks about this. I understand people mention it, but they don't really comprehend how big of a deal God packs actually are. Okay, so to pull a top chase, I know that the pull rates are, they're not easy. A lot of time they're very hard. However, people have this thing where they think that they are going to be the big winner. They have this thing that they think the world revolves around them, right? They can already daydream themselves pulling it, going crazy. They tell their friends and everyone gets hyped, right? Everyone daydreams that, right? Like pulling the top chase. You got to look at the big boys. You got to look at the other people who are smart in the gambling space. What do? They always show people winning big. They always show people winning massive rewards for lotteries. I said this in another video a couple days ago, but I'll just say it again here for anyone who didn't listen to the other video, that the lottery, when does it do the best? When does it sell the most tickets? It's when there's like a $1 billion reward. No one cares if it's a $100,000 reward or it's a $10,000 reward. You've got to think about every single thing that has chance, right? Let's just use the Macca's Monopoly, for example, right? Do you think that when they do those games and they sell those tickets with meals, do you think that they would be as successful if the rewards were like $100? If you can win a 70 grand car, no. With the top reward, you can win $1,000. They would sell far less. So you just look at the biggest boys and see what they're doing and just copy their work. Just copy what they're doing. So you can see, all right, well, the bigger the reward, it attracts more people to that thing, right? Whether it be gambling, whatever it may be, it attracts people to that. So then you look at Prismatic Evolutions and you go, all right, well, the top chase is 3,100, but it doesn't end just there. Then you get to God packs, and God packs is a game changer because let's be real. Let me ask you this. For anyone who does daydream pulling the top chase, you don't think about pulling the Umbreon. That's not what you daydream about. Everybody daydreams about pulling a God pack. That's what everybody does want. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Pokemon people, you have thousands of people that will keep opening up packs slowly but surely, and they will never give up until they pull that thing that they want. For a lot of people, that's God packs. They want that experience. They want that hit of dopamine, that excitement, right? Which is valid. Like, I get that. But people desire that. So what's going to happen when they open up 500 packs or 1,000 packs and they don't pull it? Well, they're too far in. They're obviously going to keep going. So this is why it gets ripped so heavily. This God pack idea plus difficult pull rates plus it being a holiday set, it's mushed quite closely to other sets. Like Black Bolt is $91 in ETB. Prismatic Evolution is like $115. Destined Rivals is like $120 in ETB. Destined Rivals, Prismatic Evolutions is like $115. Then you go all these other sets, you look at booster packs, and they're all roughly on par. But it's like, no, dude, Prismatic Evolutions should be way more. The only reason it's not is because it gets printed so much. But that printing, when that stops, you can put 2 to 2 together, and you can see that once the printing stops, that's where the real game starts. It's very different with Evolving Skies, because with Evolving Skies, everyone surrounded Evolving Skies, and they didn't panic sell, right? Like, if you were investing in Pokemon in 2022, 2023, 2024 even, if you were investing during then, well, you had some level of ability to invest. You had some sort of knowledge in Pokemon, right? Like, it didn't really take a genius that you have a Giratina that's $250 or you have an Umbreon that's $500. And for a lot of people, they gravitate towards Evolving Skies. But now, because there's so much hype, because there's all these different languages and there's all these different trading card games, people hop from item to item because they have the FOMO of missing out. FOMO doesn't really exist in a bear market. FOMO doesn't really exist when the market is quiet. FOMO only exists when the market is really hot. So that's why I genuinely believe that, yes, okay, sure, there are more investors, but how many of them are 50% of the portfolio is Prismatic Evolutions? How many of them hold more Prismatic Evolutions than other sets? For a lot of people, they chose Mega Evolutions, Phantasmal Flames. They chose a different trading card game. Like, I have a One Piece channel for anyone who doesn't know, and I get tons of people commenting saying that they sold their Prismatic to buy OP13, which inherently is not a bad purchase, but at the same time, you got to question where you're getting your funds from, because what happens when the next hot box comes out? Are you then going to sell your One Piece to buy that, and then you're going to sell that new box to buy another new box? Like, That's the investors that's in the modern space. But that does not fly in the long term. So that's why Pokemon does so well, is because you have so many investors, sure, but at the same time, they're just hopping from item to item. The easiest way to stick out in this space is just hold something. Literally, just buy a box and hold it. Then you are immediately going to be doing better than 95% of people in this space. Trust me, I see people, I get DMs every single day. Like back a couple months ago, for me, it was just theory. For me, I just had a rough idea that I had this suspicion that people were constantly jumping from item to item, but I could never really confirm it. But now I can, because people DM me, people ask questions, should I sell this for this? Now these people DMing me, they've done the extra step and they've made a really good decision. But think about it, how many people are DMing somebody asking, hey, do you think I should do this? Versus how many people that just do it, right? Like if you DM me and you ask me, hey man, should I do this? And I give my advice, I say, look, honestly, I'm just laser focused on Prismatic Evolutions. I'm laser focused on Destined Rivals right now. I'm not even thinking about the new era. I'm just thinking about this stuff. I'm not thinking about other boxes or other trading card games or whatever, right? Then people will go, you know what? Actually, he makes a good point, and it sparks this confidence back in Scarlet and Violet. Because when the market is quiet for the things that you're holding, but everything else is moving, then you really do want to just sell what you're holding to buy the other stuff. But let me give you a little bit of a piece of advice, right? So no matter what item you hold, there will be quiet times. So if you have a history of selling something when something is quiet, my best advice to you is no matter what you hold, I challenge you, please just hold it. And the reason why is you really need to practice the discipline of being able to buy an item and sticking to your guns and saying, no, I will still hold it. Journey Together, that thing has been dead for, December, came out. Now March is the third month. So that means we are in the 12th month. So about 9 months. I've been holding Journey Together. I've seen no growth. Bro, I've seen no growth. I've seen Chinese boxes blow up. I've seen One Piece do insane. I've seen Magic of the Gathering, Riftbound. I've seen all these trading card games. And if I... And that's why in a couple years, if Journey Together does well, like, don't be surprised, right? And then if Stellar Crown does well, and then if Black Ball and Surging Sparks does well, and Paldea Revolt, don't be surprised. And the reason is because when it pulls back, oh my goodness, people sell. Like, everybody's buying mangas from One Piece, right? Now, for me, I feel like the market's just a little bit overinflated whenever it comes to the mangas wise, and the reason is because they're getting really, really expensive. I do want to own a manga. I used to own a Zoro. The thing blew up in price, and I would just rather the money. So I sold that, right? But there's a couple other mangas I want, but I'm not going to buy them right now. I'm going to buy them once the market cools off, even if that's in 6 months. But you know what? 6 months ago, you know what cards I wanted to own? I wanted to own the Gengar, the Chinese Gengar, right? I want to own that. I want to own a Bubble Mew. What other cards did I want to own? Umbreon SIR. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that card. A Pikachu with Grey Hat. Wouldn't mind that card as well. So you know what I'm doing? I'm looking at it, I'm going, ooh, mangas. Yeah, those look really nice, but those are really hot right now. I'm going to come back to them later. I'm going to pick up a Chinese Gengar, and that's what I'm looking for. I pick up a Chinese Gengar. Things down like 70% off its price, and that's where I'm going. I'm going where the market's dying. I'm going where the market's cooling off. Whereas a lot of people, they go where the market is hot, but the thing is, no matter what you hold, the market will be quiet for a long time, right? Like, whether you hold Phantasmal Flames or Mega Evolutions, like Phantasmal Flames, for example, right? If you want to buy that, if you want to hold on to it long term, you do you, boo, go for it. But it's like, as long as you can accept that there's going to be a lot of quiet times, it's the same thing with Prismatic Evolutions, as long as you can accept that there will be a lot of quiet times. But the thing about Prismatic Evolutions is it's being completely pigeonholed right now, top chase-wise, God pack-wise, everything. It costs nearly double as many packs as like Destined Rivals. It costs like 6 times as many packs for 151. So there's just something to consider with Prismatic Evolutions, is that it is in a bit of a different ball game. That's where I stand with Prismatic Evolutions. The next thing I want to quickly talk about is Prismatic Evolutions is going to go up a lot sooner than people think. And the reason why is when the first run-up of Prismatic Evolutions starts, it's not going to stop from there. So generally, once something breaks a resistance point, then it doesn't stop. Once they move on to other stuff, like you can see, they're not really reprinting 151 Paldean Fates. Like, they've done a couple restocks here and there. They did the Paldean Fates, like, collection boxes. But when it comes to, like, these sets, like they're not really printing it that much. And the next one to have that fate is going to be Prismatic Evolutions. As they move on to the next era, they're going to have to focus on that, and they're going to put less focus on Prismatic Evolutions, just like they did with Evolving Skies. So when this happens, what will happen is the second the printing doesn't even need to stop. It just needs to slow down. The second the printing slows down, then it'll trigger a chain reaction where it'll go up, and then people will realize it's going up. So then people will then immediately go like, "Oh right, yeah, all right, I'm taking it serious. I'm taking it serious." It will go up. People will then buy into it, which will cause it to go up more, but then it will pause for a second. It will pause for maybe like 6 months time, and then it'll keep doing that every like 6 months to a year. It'll just keep having a leg up until eventually, once it's out of rotation, GG's well played from there. That's where it seriously takes off. This is something that really needs to be taken serious with Prismatic Evolutions. Prismatic Evolutions is getting older day by day. If we go this time next year, so in 12 months time, then that means it will be almost 2 years old. Now, I know it's a bit of a stretch, of course, but it's like, think about it. Years fly by. I know it feels like Prismatic Evolutions is brand new and it's going to take forever to go up, but think about it. Evolving Skies, 2 years after its release, was $420 a booster box. So with Prismatic Evolutions, do you really think that in 13 months' time, once it hits that 2-year anniversary, do you really think they're going to be printing it as much as they are now? No. They're going to be moving on to other stuff. You got to remember, every single year, about 5 to 6 sets come out. Now, lately, in the last 2 years, they've done 6 sets per year, I believe. So that would mean January of next year, there will be about 6 more sets released from there are today, which means you've got Journey Together, Destiny Rivals, Black Ball White Flare, which will just count as one. Then you go Mega Evolutions Base, Phantasmal Flames, and let's just say there's 6 more sets after that. So that means you will have 11 sets released after Prismatic Evolutions in January of not next month, but like the one after. So in 13 months, you will have around 11 sets released after Prismatic Evolutions. So I really would recommend, like, no matter how much Prismatic Evolutions you have, you're most likely underinvested. And this set will go up a lot quicker than other sets. The best set tends to go up quicker because they don't want to risk it going out of print and they can't get any at a relatively cheap price. Let's just use 151 as an example. Did you guys notice how in August and September, Evolving Skies displays were selling for $2,000? Now, the reason why is because people wanted to buy it early before it really took off, because it's going out of rotation of next year, April, right? So if you're holding 151, happy days. The thing about 151 is that people jumped in on it because they went, oh, it's going out of rotation in like 9 months or something, right? But the thing about Prismatic Evolutions is I don't think people are going to do the same thing. People are going to go like, oh my goodness, Prismatic Evolutions is going out of rotation in a year's time, in a year and a half's time. All right, well, I better start buying up some. So right now is like the best time to buy Prismatic Evolutions. Everyone has their eyes on One Piece. Everyone has their eyes on other trading card games. Everyone has their eyes on vacations. This is probably going to be the cheapest Prismatic Evolutions is ever going to be. So if you are looking at buying some Prismatic Evolutions, now is the time.